Hi everyone, welcome to Squirrel Brain Stories. Just a little reminder right here at the beginning, we're going to be talking about heavy topics. Please make sure to take care of yourself, reach out to a friend if this triggers something in you. Make sure you drink your water, take your meds, and just maybe if you're not in a good place, today is not the day for this, come back to us later.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Squirrel Brain Stories. I'm Angela and I'm here with my co-host Adria.
Hello.
And we're gonna be picking up where we left off last time about life in a cult.
Yes, and I have so many questions. So out of all the things we've talked about, one of the things that stuck out to me, I think you said it in the first episode, is when you got there, everyone spoke Spanish and you were just a little white girl from Portland that had no idea what the fuck was going on. So how long did it take for you to pick up the language? Because it didn't really sound like there were a lot of English speakers there to kind of take the time and translate for you. It seems like it was more of, well, you're here, figure it out. Use context clues until you can figure it all the way out.
Yeah, it was learning, as soon as your feet hit the ground. I mean, listening to people, and I was given a Bible in Spanish too. That way I can compare the English and the Spanish. And
I had one of those from my Nana. It was half and half. So when you opened it, it was the English on this side and then the Spanish on the other side.
Oh, no, I had two separate Bibles.
Oh, see, mine was fancy.
That does sound really fancy. So, yeah, there was only a handful of people that spoke English and everyone else spoke Spanish. So I had to learn really quick. I probably learned within a couple months. I was pretty knowledgeable. You kind of had to learn, because how are you going to communicate? Like, can I eat this that's in the fridge? I mean, you have to be able to communicate.
Is that something you had to ask permission for to eat? Or was it just kind of, if you had time, you could go grab something?
Well, there was a lot of stuff in the refrigerator that was in bags. So sometimes they would have people's names on them.
Got it.
And sometimes it would just be a bag. And so you didn't know if you could eat it or not.
Got it.
If it belonged to someone. If it belonged to someone, you couldn't touch it. Because there wasn't a weekly grocery shopping trip. It was whatever came in through donations. And the women that had children, of course, they had a WIC, but they had their refrigerators in their bedrooms, and that's where they kept all the stuff that they got.
And was that kind of the stepping stone to getting your own space, is having a kid, not even necessarily getting married, but having a baby? Or did it come with you got married and you got upgraded to your own space with your spouse because you're supposed to procreate and serve your husband, whatever?
Be a slave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you got married, you got your own room.
Okay.
And usually the husband would buy a refrigerator because, there's a baby, then you need somewhere to put the baby's food and stuff like that. So, that was like the highlight of living there's getting your own room and refrigerator that you can actually have.
Last time you mentioned a radio that you got to be rebellious with.
Yes. Yes, a radio that was very nice because, we didn't have any kind of communication with the outside world. We were very isolated.
Is it ever crazy to you to look back and remember a time when you weren't allowed to listen to the radio and then reach in your pocket and pull out your phone that has access to the entire world?
It's crazy.
Does that ever feel weird to you?
I mean, not anymore because I've just gotten so used to it.
Yeah.
But, there's definitely a huge gap in my, what is it called?
Oh, yeah. Your knowledge of
pop culture.
Pop culture. Yeah. It's fun.
It's not, though. It's embarrassing sometimes because people will be talking about something and I'm like a deer in headlights, like, because I don't know artists. I don't know movies. Buck's been doing a really good job, though.
That's what's fun about it is Buck gets to introduce you to stuff. I get to go, oh my God, somebody hasn't seen this thing. Let's do this.
Yeah.
That's what's exciting. Not that you didn't get to experience it, just that the people that love you get to show you things.
Yeah. And one of the other big things was holidays, like we didn't celebrate any holidays.
There was no birth of Christ.
No, we didn't do any holidays.
Huh.
Not even birthdays. So like living like that for 20 years and missing out on, all those memories that are supposed to be made around holidays. And that's what makes holidays special for us now, because we have all these awesome memories as kids or, memories. But with not having that there at all, there's a disconnect and a lack of excitement for holidays. Now, I think the one holiday I'm excited about now is Christmas because I love giving people stuff. And Halloween because, it feels evil.
Yes. Feels spooky and rebellious.
But beyond that, well, I'll do birthdays for the kids, but I'm never really excited, or Buck is usually the one's like, okay, what are we going to do? You need to start thinking about what we're going to do. And I'm like, do we have to? It's just
it's
Easter.
Almost your birthday. Sorry, not.
Yeah, it's still weird, Buck wanting to do something for my birthday because I never had anything done for my birthday,
Is that just within the cult and the following marriages, or was that from the very beginning with your mom that you guys just really didn't do holidays?
No, we did do Christmas, and I would go trick-or-treating, and she would make me a cake for my birthday, and I'd get a present.
Oh, that's nice.
But I don't remember. I mean, we didn't do Easter and, any other holidays.
Yeah.
So now it's just it's hard sometimes being excited to, do a holiday. It's like,
well, because there's nothing for you to be excited for. Like you said, there's not that moment of, I remember when I was 10 and the Easter Bunny brought me this or Santa brought me this. You just,
it's not nostalgic.
Yeah, you don't have it. There's no point of reference for you.
Yeah. It's like a void.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to, get excited because I know at this point it's not about me, but about my kids. So what I lacked, I need to be extra careful with doing the complete opposite with my kids because I'm preparing them for their future and for them as parents. Like I want them to have the right traditions and be excited about holidays and want to celebrate things with their kids,
I think it's more than that. I think every time you decorate for Halloween, every time you go all out for Christmas, I think you are slowly healing parts of yourself. I think you are giving little tiny Ange all the things that she wished she had had. And you're giving them to yourself now as an adult, but that's still therapeutic.
Okay.
At least the things that I've done in my life that I wish little Adria could have done or could have had. I'm like, it's okay. It took us a long time, but we got here. We got the thing. It's as great as we thought it would be, or man, we could have lived without it, but that's okay. But it heals something. It makes something feel lighter for me anyway.
Well, and it begins the path of making new memories to fill those voids.
Yeah.
I think.
You feeling good about this year's holidays?
I mean, besides the economy, which sucks.
We're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to do it. We'll lose everybody.
We might strike.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I just remembered who you work for.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that after. That's not for everybody else.
No.
Okay, so off of the sad holiday topics. How long I know it said it took you a few months to pick up on the language, but that was probably the easiest thing to pick up.
Yeah. Because I don't know, once I started learning, I just absorbed it so quickly. I think I'm a little bit of a fast learner.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that is part of like surviving, you have to learn something fast, or I don't know, but I seem to pick it up really quickly. I even learned a little bit of Mayan.
Well, there's very few things that I've seen that you're not good at, so it doesn't surprise me that you would be able to pick up a language being fully immersed.
Yeah, well, I think anyone in that situation.
Yeah. Would be able to, but it might take them a little bit longer, and that's okay too.
But it's crazy because not only was like my identity being taken from me and I was just another shadow on the wall, but my culture, my holidays were taken away, my language was taken away.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy, man.
It is, and that must have been all of that compounding with this incredible learning curve that you have, because you went from raising yourself to being shoved into a tiny box, told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, how many times you get to breathe, what time you get to breathe. It just...
what to wear.
Exactly. And all of the intricate unspoken rules that they had must have been so hard to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, there were certain books that we were allowed to read. We could only read the approved books, and just, it's crazy how a group of people can control so much of your life, or one person for that matter,
Yeah.
Like how does it reminds me of, even though I was a kid and I didn't know what was going on the whole time, I just wanted to be good so that I didn't get, called out in front of everyone. And, I saw that doing, they were happy, I was doing good. They liked that, when I would listen and I was doing good. And I don't know, it felt kind of like positive reinforcement, maybe in a way, following all the rules, and then them being, glad that you did or proud of you. I don't know. It's weird. But what was I saying? I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah.
Do you think you were seeking validation from them that you didn't get from your mom and stepdads? Because if you have people telling you, even if they're not telling you good job, if they're not telling you you fucked up, that's
still positive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and if you saw that they approved of, what you were doing or how you were behaving, even if they didn't say it, it felt good because if they knew that you were doing good or they thought you were doing good, then you knew that someone cared about you.
Yeah. Or at least you were making somebody not mad.
Yeah.
What a place to live. I couldn't. Was there any real friendships you were able to make while you were in there
because from what I can imagine and from what we've talked about prior to doing this, it seems like it became a community of people who were pit against each other, maybe not outwardly, but kind of like, I watch you get punished. And then I know I need to stay away from you because you don't listen, you rebel. And if I hang out with you, if I talk to you too much, I'm going to be lumped in with you.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of favorites, and you could tell who favorites were by the way they were treated or the things that they were able to do. You know, like get wives, you know?
Yeah. Were not all the men able to get married?
Well, there wasn't enough young girls. There wasn't very many of us. Most of the people were guys.
Yeah. And was it mostly older guys or like in their 20s?
Probably in their 20s. I know some came up as teens, but probably most of them in their 20s to maybe 40s.
Okay.
There were a few older ones, but yeah, mainly working age, you know.
And what kind of work did the men do? I know we talked about the chores that the women would do, but aside from driving delivery trucks to pick up donations, what would the men do if they didn't go out to work?
There were quite a few men that right across the street, there was a dry cleaners that were owned by a Korean couple. And a lot of the men from the cult pretty much ran the dry cleaners. There were lots of them that worked there.
Okay. I mean,
and I don't really know where other people work. I think some people worked in like landscaping.
You did mention last time about going and doing ministry on like Friday nights.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like for you people? You know, sometimes it's kind of like, you know, the guy on the street corner with the sign that's like, the world is ending. I think that's what some people think about when they think of a cult going and ministering. It's like, hey, we're doomsday, but yours was not a doomsday cult. It was more of a,
come hear the word of God. See how you can change your life.
Yeah.
Become reborn.
Yeah.
Become a believer. Yeah, no, there was groups of us, probably around 20 or so, and we'd go downtown Portland to Northwest 23rd, and we'd all stand up along 23rd at different points. There would be like 4 of us or so, and one of the ladies would do the art, and then some other people would write whatever was going to be in a little pamphlet, and they would have cases like ream paper, you know, big, those paper cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd get like cases of those printed out, and we'd go and hand them out. Here, the word of God, take this.
And I gotta know, how was it received by people? Because I know you said sometimes you would go to where, you know, the homeless and to where the homeless population was, but then you guys had to go other places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, I would just hand out the pamphlet. I wouldn't do any talking because I was really shy.
Yeah.
So I would just stand there handing out these pamphlets. Here you go, take one. You know, I mean, that was pretty much all I would say. But the other people, or like the sub leaders, they would be trying to convert people,
like on the spot.
Yeah.
Like, here, take this. I'm going to pray for your soul. If you just come back with us and sit for one meeting, I'm sure you'll fall in love with it.
Yeah. That there would be people that would end up coming and staying with us for a while that we got off of the streets.
Was there ever anybody that came and attended like Bible studies and then just left? They weren't a full part of the cult?
Yeah.
How did that work?
Oh man, I was so jealous of them.
I can imagine watching somebody walk in and then watching them just walk out and going, you don't have to do this 17 times a day. You don't
Yeah.
have to cook for 100 people every other day.
And seeing them, you know, with their kids too. And it's like, I just want to be able to play, you know?
And know what day it is, know what month I'm in.
Yeah. But they were also easy targets because they weren't always there. So one of them would be used as an example in Bible studies, you know, that, you know, she's a witch, and because she was a very an independent, strong woman, and they wanted that to look bad.
Yeah, but they were totally fine taking her money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that kind of what it looked like when somebody would get in trouble in the cult? Like they would just be, he would stand up there, talk shit about them.
In front of everyone.
Were they ever there?
Yeah.
When it was
Oh,
happening?
yeah. It happened to me once.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What did they say you did?
Well, I was very pregnant, and I had got this dresser for donation, and my son I didn't have anything to put his clothes in yet. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take this dresser. It's missing a drawer, the front of one drawer, but I can work with it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it was super ugly. So I was outside sanding it and then staining it and varnishing it. Well, it was summer. And so I was out there like working for a few hours on it. And by the time I came in, and then it was dinner time and then Bible study. And I was just drained because it was hot, and I was falling asleep in Bible study. And then I got caught up. My name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew who it was because my head was like bobbing in Bible study.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like some women, you know, what was it? Like some women can be outside all day in the sun doing worldly things, and they can't be awake for the time when it's time for God, or, you know, basically something along those lines.
I feel like the vague call out is worse than a direct one.
You think so?
I do.
I mean, it was definitely embarrassing.
I mean,
to, like,
it would
hide.
be shitty either way, but I feel like the vague is worse.
Yeah. Now, there was another time I was called out too, but that was by the prearranged husband. Because I was working at the time. This was after the main leader had moved his church, his cult, to Hawaii. And we were managing one of the houses because my husband was the protege leader. So we were managing one of the houses, and I was working, but I didn't have access to any money. And I needed to, like, I think it was like underwear or something I wanted to buy. So I went to the bank, and I was like, because I knew where my checks were going. My checks were being deposited, you know, for work.
Yeah.
And so I went to the bank and gave them my driver's license. And I said, you know, I know that I have a bank account here, but I don't have a card. And I want to see if I can get $20. And so I gave them my driver's license, and they're like, checking all it. And they're like, oh, yeah, there's your account. And then they gave me $20. And I went and got what I needed for Meyer. And then when he realized that I had taken $20 out, like $20, then he called me out in Bible study and said that I was a witch and to be careful around me because I might steal their money like I stole his money.
The money that you went and worked for.
Yeah, he wasn't working. He actually would be flying to Mexico every single month on trips, missionary trips.
But what was he actually doing?
Well, he contracted a disease.
Hopefully one you could get rid of. I could care fucking less about him.
Yeah. So yeah, he was always going on these trips, spending the money I was working for.
Yeah, stealing your money. Stealing. Did he have permission? Like actual permission,
Well,
not I'm the man and I'm the leader and I make the rules, so you have to listen to me. But like you actually said, yeah, it's fine, and meant it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stealing.
Yeah. But man, that was so embarrassing being called out for just taking $20 out of the bank. Ugh.
That's how long did it take him to figure it out?
It was pretty quickly.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like within a couple of days or a few days.
Was it mostly you went and did it without telling him, or?
Yeah, I didn't tell him. He never gave me any money. Like if my kids needed anything, if anyone needed diapers, he would go and buy the diapers. I didn't have a card.
Oh, he was trying to make sure you couldn't make a little nest egg to get the fuck out.
Yeah. But I ended up doing that.
Yeah, you are resourceful and God, you're stubborn, which is good. It's good.
Is it?
In these situations, yeah. You didn't just take him, taking all your money and not letting you have access to it. You said, okay, you can do that, but I'm still going to find a way. I don't know. It's not something everyone can accomplish. And the ones that do accomplish it, it still can take a lot of time.
Yeah, no, it did. It took a while. I mean, once it started, because I had to set it up where I was having $20. It was like $20 that I had opened a secret checking account. Yeah. And I had set it up where I can put $20 from every paycheck into the secret bank account. So I had to sit there for a while. I wanted to have enough to pay for a lawyer.
For the kids?
Well, for divorce.
Yeah.
And I did.
How long did it take? I know we're jumping super far ahead, but
It took a while. I mean, I think I probably had around $1,000 saved up or so.
So that's...
Because like when I was done, I just dropped a nuclear bomb on him. I'm like, okay, I called the police, I called the IRS, and I called immigration. Bye.
I won't ask any more questions because I know that that's something we're leading up to, and that's going to be a really fun day. So I won't ask anything else about that. But since we keep talking about him, I want to talk about the lead up to your marriage. So it was a couple of years. You went on a couple of dates with him.
Yeah, we would go on. I think we probably went on a few or so, like a handful.
And was there like kissing, hand holding? I know we talked about you'd been groped, sexually assaulted by other men within the cult. Was he like that while you guys were having those interactions? Was he grossly touching you, or was he just kind of...
No, we held hands one time. He didn't seem very interested.
Do we know why that is now?
He's very feminine. And so our marriage was solely for papers, not out of like love or anything else.
That's hard. How old were you when you married him? Or
I was 16 when we got married.
And what was that like? Did they even bother asking you how you felt about it?
Well, there was another guy that I was talking he had started talking to me, and I was talking to him, and then I got in trouble, and I was told I wasn't allowed to talk to him, and then shortly after, the prearranged husband started talking to me, and I was like, okay, I guess they're gonna let me talk to him, and they were encouraging it and taking us out on these chaperone dates, which was basically driving around town or driving to the river, we held hands one time, and then there was a point where I was going back and forth between that house and my mom's house, because my mom, they had a baby and they wanted me to babysit. So I was going back and forth, and while I was at their house, they let me go back to school for a little while. So I think it was 9th grade.
Okay.
I don't know how they miraculously moved me from middle school to high school. That is interesting because I didn't finish very much of middle school, and they just put me in ninth grade. So I was going back and forth a lot. And then one day he talked to my mom and my stepdad and said that he wanted to marry me. And then my mom was like, he wants to marry you. What do you think? And I was like, okay, if that's what you guys want me to do, then cool. At least I know I'll get my own room and I'll get a refrigerator.
And was there ever any talk about you staying permanently with your parents again while you were
no.
doing the back and forth?
Mm-mm.
Did you ever ask, or
No.
was it just kind of known to you that it was not a topic for
I knew that
discussion?
they didn't want me there. Yeah, they wanted their little life,
Their little perfect nuclear
Yeah.
family that
Yeah.
did not include you.
No. I remember looking in the closets, and my little sister just had all of this clothes everywhere. She had a whole closet that was full of all these little dresses plus stuff in their room. And I was like, why does a little baby have so much clothes? And I have 4 pairs of pants, before I was taken, there. And it's like, I didn't understand. That's kind of not fair, but it just showed me that, I didn't fit in their perfect little family life. So the prearranged husband, he asked my mom that, and my mom asked me what I thought. And I was like, well, this is cool because they can't tell me, what to do anymore. They can't control my life anymore. I thought it was a form of freedom to get away from them, but it was not.
It was just freedom
freedom from them, but captive to another.
Yeah.
So he had told my mom that the marriage, he needed to marry me by this month, because we had to do the reception and the marriage at different times. Because for the license part, we had to go to Idaho, because you only have to be 16 years old in Idaho. And in Oregon, you have to be 17 years old. And so he wanted the marriage done in Idaho by a certain month, because by whatever month, his mom was going to be visiting from Mexico, and he wanted her there to be here for the actual wedding. But looking back, and after seeing what we came across on research, I don't think that his mom never showed, by the way.
Do you think his papers were expiring?
No, I think what it was he called to the courthouse in Idaho and asked about the marriage license and made the appointment and stuff. And he was turning 21. And it was 20 something days before he turned 21.
Oh, is it what do they call them? The Romeo and Juliet laws?
So in Idaho, since 1989 or 1979, forever, there's a law in Idaho that for anyone that is under 18 years of age, that they are not allowed to marry someone that is 3 years or more older than they are, if they're under 18. I was 16 and he was almost 21. We were pushing a 5-year difference.
Yeah.
So I think that they probably told him, well, yeah, we can do it, but you can't be 21. Or we won't do it. I think that's what it was.
And is it one of those things where it was?
So I was illegally married. That was against the law. Because there's a law. You can't have it more than a 3-year gap.
Even with parental consent?
Yep.
Because I'm assuming your mother gave her full blessing.
Oh, yeah, they drove there.
What did she say to you, her oldest child?
Oh, she seemed happy. Probably because they knew that once that was done, they didn't have to worry about me anymore. I wasn't their problem.
You were someone else's property now.
Yeah. Yeah, so we drove to Idaho. They drove in their car, and I was with him in his car. And we went to Idaho and had did the thing with the judge. Um, and then I don't know if they left that night or went the next day home. But he got a hotel, and we stayed at a hotel. And that was the first time. That was when he strangled me. He was talking about my boyfriends before, and I told him that, yeah, I had a boyfriend before and I had sex, and then he strangled me. So he strangled me because I was not a virgin. And then he left, and I should have called the cops. I wish I would have called the cops, because then I would have been done with him. But then where would have I gone? Because obviously my parents, didn't want me.
Yeah, they, in all honesty, probably would have sent you right back to the cult. And then
Back to him.
you're the bitch that got somebody arrested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was your first night of marriage.
Mm-hmm. Being strangled in bed.
I'm assuming things continued to go downhill from there.
Oh yeah, I was always treated like shit. I was the minority. I was a rug just stomped all over and used and abused and not valued as a person.
What changed about what was expected of you after you got married? Because I know you guys go to Idaho, get married, and then you go back. You have your own room with him, these new special privileges, but it's its own special hell.
Yeah, because now not only did I have to listen to the leaders, but now I had to listen to this guy too. Like make him something to eat out of whatever I could put together and it be something that he actually liked, because I'm just getting whatever's in the pantry or in the fridge from donations. It's not like he gave me money to go grocery shopping. I think he would bring some stuff back, but like I never went grocery shopping.
At any point during your marriage with him, did he give you money?
No. Not even when he would go on his trips. He would go often with a friend up to Canada. Yeah, and they'd go for the weekend, him and his friend. And like the only thing I had was cup of noodles and those conchas, which is now why I hate them, because I was pregnant. So all I had was cup of noodles and conchas. That was what I had to eat while he was gone the whole weekend.
Did you feel duped at all after you married him and he strangled you? Because it seems like he presented himself as a halfway decent guy, at least while you guys were getting to know each other. And then he turns out to be this fucking monster in so many ways.
Yeah. He's just really evil.
Yeah. And we haven't even gotten to the worst things he's done.
Well, I think the most humiliating thing he did to me was we would go out. I had the two little babies, and the girls would go out for Bible studies at McDonald's, so that like apparently, so the ladies could have a break from watching the kids and we could read our Bibles together. And the guys would watch all the kids out in the playland.
Huh.
And the girls, each one of their husbands would give them money to go buy whatever, or they had their own debit card or whatever, and they would go buy their stuff. And I got $1. I could pick one thing, either fries or a sandwich with chicken. And so I had $1 I don't know how, or maybe I asked my mom to buy it for me. And he fucking would keep an eye on me, even though he was out there watching the kids. Like, he'd keep looking in through the glass, like, what the fuck, what do you want? You know?
Absolute control.
Yeah. And so one time I asked my mom to go get me a fry because I had a sandwich and I was still hungry. And then he comes in, he sees me eating fry, and he knows that I had a sandwich because he probably bought it for me that day. So he knew what I had. And he sees me eating fries because he's fucking spying on me through the glass. And he comes in and makes this big fucking scene. That's why you're a fucking well, actually, he didn't cuss, but he's like, that's why you're an elephant, because you won't stop eating and you're just going to keep growing fatter and fatter and fatter. Yeah, it was so fucking humiliating.
Yeah.
And my mom is standing right there just watching, and all the ladies are just standing there, and all the fucking McDonald's customers are just like,
yeah. But everybody with you is like, well, obviously she deserves it.
yeah. That's why she's so fat, you know? Yeah, I was fat because all we had was cupcakes and fucking cake.
Yeah.
And I just had 2 babies too on top of that. It's like, yeah, how am I not going to be fat? Who's giving me healthy food? Who's letting me go outside and exercise? Who's letting me go to the gym?
At one point, you're going to work and you don't even have access to your own fucking money.
Yeah.
God,
I had to even rely on them to get me to work. I couldn't, even though I had a driver's license, I couldn't drive myself to work or home. I had to have a driver. Someone would drive me and pick me up.
He thought you were going to run. He had to have thought you were going to run.
I mean,
I don't blame him for thinking that.
why care at that point? Because he already has papers.
Because it's a bad look.
That is very true.
Optics matter far more than reality. If you up and abandoned him, especially if you took the kids with you, that would be probably a humiliation that he could not survive.
Yeah. And even after the divorce, he still tried to control and like, you can't call the house to check on the kids, even though I'm in Mexico on my trip. Like, I'd go drop the kids off for his visitation with them, and then he just wouldn't be there. I'd call to check on the boys, and I would find out that he was in Mexico and my son had 103 fever, and no one fucking cared to call me or tell me at all. And he's not even there with them. I was so pissed. I went over there and picked up my kids and I think they went back one more time, but then they just left them there knocking at the front door. I even drove around the block to see if they were just being assholes because they didn't want to open the door when my car was right there. So I drove down the block a little bit to see if they would open the front door for the kids. And no, I backed up and they're still knocking at the front door and everyone is there.
Yeah, everyone's always there.
But it's like, okay, we're done.
Like, cool, he doesn't want this anymore, so you just never took him back?
No.
How did he get visitation?
Well, I was stupid.
No, you weren't.
Well, I didn't know what to ask for, and I think I probably didn't have a good lawyer, and I wanted to do joint custody. That way he would watch them while I was working. So that's what I thought in my mind was a smart idea until, those couple of incidents happened. I'm like, okay, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. How are you feeling?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
We have to give this asshole a name.
Dick face.
I don't think I can say that as many times as we need to say it.
Smurf.
You know what? I'm totally down with the Smurf.
He's like 5'2" and 120 pounds.
You know what?
Petite pine cone.
I hate body shaming, but he's a piece of shit. He doesn't qualify as a human in my book, so shame away. I'm gonna co-sign it.
Yeah.
All right. That was a lot. That was a lot of heavy stuff. I think you may need some time to process quietly. So I think we're going to stop here for today, you guys. And next time we're going to get into the cult moving to Hawaii and expanding and you two taking over. And Okay.
Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Until next time, guys.